Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is an important issue. However, it's an issue that Democrats utilize to pontificate and to condemn and judge others. Like many other topics, it can be Medicare for all, climate change, Green New Deal legislation, universal basic income. These are Green Party policies. President Trump is not going to be that different from President Biden. From a left-leaning perspective, I come from the far left. I can tell you that President Trump has set numerous hilarious political pitfalls and traps for Biden. So we have President Biden for 4 years. What is he going to do to protect the planet? Well, the Paris Climate Agreement is a non-binding agreement. The non-binding nature of emissions target is a central and purposeful feature of the Paris Agreement. So this is justsecurity.org. Here's why it matters. It's a non-binding agreement, meaning that they don't have to abide by the carbon emission standards or goals. There's if you go to analysis, global fossil fuel emissions up 0.6% in 2019 due to China. Now, I don't blame China or India or any country that is trying to build up its economy like we built up our economies, or like we built up our economy. That would be hypocritical of us. That would turn us into egotistical narcissists, which many people within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as well fit that definition. But you look at what Trump has left Biden, which is really hilarious. This is going to be a lose-lose for President Biden. So he blocked the Keystone XL pipeline, but if you look, there's a Financial Post article from years back in 2015. America has built the equivalent of 10 Keystone XL pipelines since 2010, and nobody's said anything. But I thought the planet's going to end. Again, I'm not saying it's not an important issue. It is. But President Trump's administration shed a light upon or put a mirror in front of the Democratic Party. The biggest obstacle now will be the far left. And you see this. You see this with people like Jimmy Dore who want Democrats to live up to their ideals. I have family in Europe. If Medicare for all was feasible, that would be a great thing. I don't think it's feasible. I don't think that if you look at the Mercatus study, double to triple tax collection, I could be wrong on that. That's not my battle anymore. That's for the left to sort out. But what Jimmy Dore did is he said, look, we want it now, or I want it now. I want Democrats to live up to what they've been promising. The pushback against Jimmy Dore is the typical expected pushback from the biggest grifters and deceptive, manipulative liars who've ever existed. These people say, yeah, Medicare for all will save lives. And one of them actually said it'll take 12 years. And then another one said, how dare this person drive a wedge between among leftists and create this division among the Democrats and liberals and progressives. It's like, no, the Democratic Party does not want this. The people who are the biggest grifters of all time claim that it's important but don't want a floor vote. You look at what's taken place on the left. What Jimmy Dore did was say, look, I want this. I want to force the Democrats to live up to their promises. They promised Medicare for all. Why can't we vote on it? We have AOC, Bernie Sanders. The whole thing's a racket. They're finding that out now. It's a grift. People have said that I became a supporter of President Trump because of money. There's not that much money in that. The most lucrative venture would be to say that Trump worked with Russia, that he was an immoral human being, that he, tried to pressure Zelensky, all of these things that are absurd and false. Hit subscribe to this channel right this second. We're on our way to 200,000 subs. But what President Trump did is he said, look, I don't want Medicare for all. I don't want a Green New Deal. I don't want universal basic income. And if President Biden reverses some of my policies pertaining to the ACA, oh, well, that doesn't matter to the far left. They want Medicare they want single payer. So it's not going to be good enough to the far left. President Biden can say, well, we got back into the Paris Climate Agreement. It's a non-binding agreement. The planet is still suffering. Emissions were up in 2019. They were lower because of the pandemic in 2020. But carbon emissions have fallen in the U.S. let's see. They've fallen the past couple of years, even before the pandemic, under Trump's administration, which is interesting. But after increasing at the fastest rate for 7 years in 2018, global CO2 emissions are set to rise much more slowly this year, but will nevertheless reach another record high. This is after the Paris Climate Agreement. That didn't stop that. It's a non-binding agreement. This is the thing. It's an important topic, but it's a topic Democrats utilize to feel morally superior to the rest of the planet. Rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement isn't going to make a dent in terms of climate change or protecting the planet from if indeed there's a long-term, irreversible, damage or repercussions from carbon emissions. Here's a carbonbrief.org analysis: global fossil fuel emissions up in 2019 due to China. Okay. And you have other developing nations where, let's see, so it was China, India, the European Union, and the rest of the world, the U.S. and then EU. China and the U.S. are the two largest emitters. But you also have China, you have India, you have other countries, the European Union as well, all the countries within Europe, the EU. But what is it going to do? So President Trump, his policies aren't going to be, Biden's policies are not going to be that markedly different from Trump. We know this because you can look at America's biggest oil boom came under President Obama, CNN Money. Okay, Forbes, President Obama's support for America's shale and oil and natural gas. You can look at this article. Let's see. My goodness. Lest we forget that the great U.S. shale oil and natural gas revolution started around 2008, right when President Obama took office for the first of his 2 terms as U.S. president. As seen in under President Obama, U.S. gas production increased 35%. Under President Obama, U.S. gas consumption increased 19%. Under President Obama, U.S. crude oil production increased 80%. This is an article by Jude Clement in Forbes. And you look, in particular, President Obama supported natural gas as an essential strategy. So gas emits 50% less, but it's still fossil fuels. We're still talking about fossil fuels. We're still talking about carbon emissions. And so that's not enough for the far left. And what's going to take place is you're going to have media really embrace the rear end of President Biden and everyone in his administration. He will do no wrong for the next 4 years. He will do absolutely no wrong. But a lot of the when they say President Biden reverses Trump's policy, he's not really going to reverse Trump's policy. He'll add a liberal spin to it, or a liberal vantage point saying, well, we're on track eventually. It's not enough for the far left, and it's not enough for people to They derive a great deal of moral superiority by saying, look, we're combating climate change. Joining the Paris Climate Agreement is not combating climate change. It's a non-binding agreement where before the pandemic, you had the leading economies in the world still emitting the most carbon. So it's not, if you truly believed, here's the issue. Here's what I'm trying to say. If you truly believed, ladies and gentlemen, that the planet was at stake, that life on planet Earth was at stake, you would not feel that Joe Biden's reversal of Trump's policies was nearly enough to actually make a dent in this grandiose existential issue. Our existence is at stake. So he stops the Keystone XL pipeline. Well, what happened to the 5 others in that article? How many more pipelines have been built how many more pipelines are being built? So America has built the equivalent of 10 Keystone XL pipelines since 2010, and nobody said anything. Financial Post. This was an article on November 6, 2015. Well, of course nobody said anything. It was a Democrat in office. The CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, they're all extensions of the Democratic Party. You see the difference now. You have President Biden. Oh, my God. You had President Trump, Madonna. You had Lady Gaga singing the national anthem. I didn't see Pelosi taking a knee. I wonder why. I didn't see. Where were the Democrats? Why didn't they take a knee? Why didn't Joe Biden take a knee? Ah, that's right. Because they actually want to utilize every single protest to their advantage in this shameful, in their nefarious political maneuvering, where they paint Trump as the bad guy, but in reality, they pretty much agree with President Trump on everything, or I should say, on a lot of things. Not everything, not everything, but a lot of things. Democrats agree with Trump on the anthem protest. The difference is they sit on the fence. They say, well, and President Trump was wrong. He was wrong to insult NFL players. He was wrong. I agree with that. In hindsight, that was a horrendous move. But I didn't see anyone taking a knee during Lady Gaga's rendition of the national anthem. Why not? Because Democrats found no political utility in doing so. They would rather have activists or other people take the heat. Take the political consequences or repercussions. Lady Gaga, Tom Hanks bring star power to emotional. Multicultural Biden inauguration. It's fantastic. Lady Gaga and Jennifer Lopez share behind-the-scenes pics from Biden-Harris. So, you look, it was a beautiful rendition of the national anthem. It was. Lady Gaga did a great job. Why weren't Democrats taking a knee? Because they're hypocrites. And because they're phonies and they're fakes. Some of them, not all of them. I should say some of them. And they do the same thing with every single. The liberals, what they do is they use the left to funnel angst and frustration from the far left back into the Democratic Party. They do it with climate change. They do it with Medicare for all. They do it with the national anthem. You don't want to fix the Voting Rights Amendment Act? I thought that voter suppression was an issue. You don't want to abolish the Electoral College? I thought it was rooted in a horrendous viewpoint. You don't want to add Supreme Court justices? So all of these policies that they claim to have pushed for or claim to have wanted, they just suddenly have jettisoned now because they got what they wanted. So when you have people like Jimmy Dore pushing them to live up to their ideals, oh my God, he's driving a wedge. He's creating division. Well, why is that? Why would that be a bad thing if Democrats aren't living up to their promises? But you look, climate change is just one example. President Trump inadvertently set all of these political pitfalls and traps. So this is Carbon Brief Analysis. Global fossil fuel emissions up 6%. It didn't make a significant impact on the future of the planet. These are cosmetic public relations, multilateral public relations ploys or stunts or agreements to show activists that, hey, we're doing something. It'll be very, very slow. And then on the far left, you have these paradigm changing policies that even Democrats don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. You didn't see Biden or Kamala Harris talk about the Green New Deal a month or 2 months before election. Gee, I wonder why. You look, ladies and gentlemen, and you can look. China is expected to be responsible for effectively all the increasing global CO2 emissions in 2019. This represents a 2.6% increase in Chinese emissions from 2018. India emissions are expected to increase by 1.8% in 2019. I don't blame these countries. I don't blame these countries at all. They have to grow their economies. It's an important issue to tackle, but it's not. See, this is. I guess my point is, they utilize this topic as in the typical. Many utilize this topic in the typical liberal manner. They say Trump is a bad person because he didn't address the climate. Meanwhile, carbon emissions actually went down in the U.S. In 2019 and 2020. But 2020 was the pandemic. 2019, carbon emissions went down. I think the U.S. did better than a lot of other countries, China included, in the Paris Agreement. But now we have a new president who's supposed to address the colossal failures of President Trump, so to speak, when all they're doing is just lip service, cosmetic changes. He's not going to pass. Democrats won't pass a Green New Deal legislation. And by the way, Schumer and Schumer closed in on power sharing agreement in evenly divided Senate. So there's a power sharing deal. Biden is a centrist, and what I loved about President Trump was his emphasis on reversing U.S. foreign policy. So I hope Biden doesn't get us into further counterinsurgency conflicts. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. This is a political pitfall that a lot of people don't see. What's going to take place is that the far left will be increasingly frustrated with the Democratic Party, and the Democrats will crush and obliterate and pretty much silence the far left. And what will take place is they'll get very angry, and then at the end of the day they say, oh my goodness, you don't want to let Trump come back into power, and they'll deal with anything Democrats say and do, and they'll just funnel votes back into the Democratic Party. It's a giant racket. And anyone who speaks out, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard or anyone, Bernie Sanders learned his lesson. So he's firmly back within the cycle that he's helped create. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. President Trump left a number of pitfalls, but actually what he did was put a mirror to the Democratic Party. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you.